right, good evening, Middle Georgia. We're going to be starting this Facebook Live and stream here in just a second. We are getting ready for a high impact weather event in the form of Hurricane Helene, and I'm going to be going through all the details on that. We'll get this started in about 5 minutes, but overall, I'm going to be watching a lot of things carefully the next few days. The radar's active right now, but everything we are seeing right now has nothing to do with Hurricane Helene. This is all part of a frontal boundary that is moving through Middle Georgia right now. And again, it is nothing to do with what we are seeing down in the tropics and what we will be dealing with Hurricane Helene in the coming days. So that is what we are talking about right now. Just widespread rain ongoing. You see it from Monroe County into Upson County. Taylor County got a pretty strong thunderstorm right now. So that is what we were looking at. More storms down towards the south, entering Crisp County as well as Wilcox County. And that is what we're going to be watching here over really the next few hours. And again, these rains coming down very heavy. Not expecting any severe weather from these, but we could see some areas of isolated flash flooding and that we've been dealing with is these tropical downpours. But again, what you're seeing on the radar right now has nothing to do with current Hurricane Helene. So I'm about to join you over there, just making sure everything is looking good. Make sure everything else is good. All right, let's see. But yeah, it's going to be a very active, this is going to be a high impact event for Middle Georgia. Could be one of our bigger weather storms or systems that we've been watching for quite some time. So that is what we are talking about right now. And we're going to continue to deal with just widespread wind issues, a threat for severe weather. That does include tornadoes and everything else. So that is what we're going to be watching when it comes to the Middle Georgia forecast. Again, I'll be joining you in just a second, letting some people join, let them see what's going on. All right, good evening. Hello, Kenny, how are you? Yeah, well, Becky, we will work with that. That is outside of our control. The crawl, that is technically the tropical storm warning does go until Saturday at 5 p.m. Of course, that will be canceled by then, but we have no control over that. So we'll be working on that. That's just something I'll have to report to the weather company that handles all our computer issues. So they'll definitely want to know about that, so I'm glad you are pointing that out. And again, we are about to start this. I'm going to go through everything we are expecting from this storm. It's going to be an interesting next 24 to 48 hours for Middle Georgia. I'll go ahead and just be completely honest with you. This could be one of the higher impact events that we've dealt with, maybe very similar to what we dealt with Irma a few years ago, Hurricane Michael. There's been so many that I've covered. So just getting everybody ready for that. Turning on the live stream as well. So So I hope everybody's taking precautions, getting ready for this. It's going to be a big event, unfortunately, and I hate to say that, but what I'm doing is I'm turning all our live streams on. So we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, on our website as well. So letting all that load, and I'll be joining you in just a second. But again, you see the radar is active right now. Strong storms or heavy rainfall getting ready to move into Cordele, down in Crisp County, Wilcox County. Then you get over towards Telfair County. A lot of lightning with those storms, and that is what we're going to be watching. So that is our current situation. I'm almost done, and I'll get over there and join you. Got the latest 8 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center on Hurricane Helene. And again, this is going to be a historic storm. I'll go ahead and prepare everybody for that, because that is what we are looking for. That is what we are expecting, and that is what is going to happen. So that is just what we are going to be seeing with this storm system. So let me just make sure everything is ready to go, and I'll be checking Facebook. So, already got a lot. Yes, it's going to be a Category 1 storm up into Middle Georgia. All right, so I'm about to join you. I got everything going, so please feel free to ask questions along the way. I will go back and try to answer these as best I can. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett, joining you on this Wednesday night, giving you an update on what's going to be a historic storm system over the next 24 to 48 hours. So we'll just jump right into it. Everything you see right now, this has nothing to do with Hurricane Helene. We have a front that's actually making its way into Middle Georgia. This is producing the rain and storms. The problem with this is a kind of a precursor. This is squeezing out the atmosphere, so we're getting additional rainfall that we don't want to see before we actually have a landfalling system. So this is what we are dealing with. We got some strong storms, and notice numerous flash flood warnings across South Georgia as you get down towards Osceola. This could be making away Crisp County, Wilcox County, maybe Dooley County, and then over towards Dodge County as well. So that is just plain rain. Again, it stops down at the Gulf. Some of this moisture is associated with Helene, but everything we're dealing with in Middle Georgia, it's nothing tropical except the downpour. So that is what we are dealing with currently. Now we're just going to dive right in and going with weather warning days. I always like to say this. We don't do this very often, but these are for high impact weather days across Middle Georgia, and that's what tomorrow night, and Friday will be. High impacts from Helene. I'm telling you, this is going to be a historic storm for the Florida coast, and then as it moves up into South Georgia, we're going to have high impacts. And by high impacts, I'm talking flooding, the threat for tornadoes, and we're going to have widespread power outages. So I hope everyone's taking precautions, filling up your tanks. I know a lot of people have been at the grocery store. That's what you need to be doing, preparing for this storm. Is this going to be a life-threatening storm? We got to have widespread damaging winds with this event, flooding, rain, and tornadoes. Unfortunately, this is going to be our storm of the year, I do believe. So that's what we're going to be watching carefully. Latest from the National Hurricane Center as of 8 p.m. This is a developing and intensifying hurricane. Now, winds are still 85 miles per hour. The winds have not changed since the last advisory. That pressure, the pressure is dropping. As the pressure drops, the winds will start to increase. And again, the pressure is dropping, and the wind field, this is going to be a massive storm. It's going to be huge. It's going to take up the eastern half of the Gulf. The wind field with this storm is going to be very, very large. It's going to encompass several states. So that's why we think it's going to be a high impact event. Current wind gusts are 105 miles per hour. It's moving off towards the north at 12. Over the next 24 hours, it's going to kind of jog off towards the northeast, and it will be making landfall along the Big Bend of Florida or very near Apalachicola. And unfortunately, as a Category 4 storm, that's the latest guidance from the National Hurricane Center. They're saying winds at landfall 130 miles per hour, and it's going to be racing off towards the north, maybe in excess of 20 miles per hour at this point. And that forward speed is going to factor into our forecast. Now, this system's going to be in and out of here quickly, but unfortunately, it's going to be still a hurricane when it makes its way to Middle Georgia. Notice as we get to Friday morning at 2 a.m., we still have a Category 1 hurricane very near Macon. This is the center of circulation. Don't focus on the cone. This is the path the center's going to take. The impacts are going to be felt great. There's tropical storm warnings all the way over into the Carolinas. So West of that center of circulation, we always say that's the good side. East of the center of circulation, that's the bad side, that's the dirty side, and that's the side we're going to have to be dealing with here in Middle Georgia. That's when you're going to get the winds. That's when you're going to get that tornado threat. And again, this is still going to be a Category 1 hurricane as it moves through Middle Georgia. And the forward speed, they're going to be dealing with hurricane force winds maybe up into the Atlanta metro. So again, high impact event. This is going to be one of those you're going to remember for a while, unfortunately. So let's look at the watches and warnings we are dealing with currently. Very rare, but we got hurricane warnings as far north as Bibb County, Crawford County, and over towards Twiggs County, and then down towards the south. That kind of brighter shade of red you're seeing, that's a hurricane warning. And again, it's rare you see them extend this far north. Everything else in Middle Georgia and over into East Alabama, tropical storm warnings. Now what this means, hurricane conditions will be felt within 36 hours within the hurricane warning area. Tropical storm force winds will be felt within 36 hours inside the tropical storm warnings. And this extends all the way to the Georgia-Tennessee border. This is going to be a storm system that's going to really cripple the state, I do believe. It's going to impact from one end to the other. But again, we're going to focus on Middle Georgia because that is where we live. And I hope a lot of people are taking this storm system very seriously because this is going to be a high impact event. So hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, rare for us to get hurricane warnings this far inland. Usually they're closer to the coast. They get them across South Georgia, but it's rare for it to get up into Middle Georgia. So this is what we're looking at. As of right now, Thursday, 6 p.m., that's when you need to start getting ready for stuff, or should I say that's when you need to be done getting ready for stuff. You need to be getting hunkered down at home and getting ready for a long night of wind and rain. And by Friday at 9 a.m., the storm's out of here. As I said, it's going to be moving so fast that it's not going to thankfully linger, but that forward speed is why it's going to still be a hurricane when it makes its presence known in Middle Georgia. The tornado threat, it's media. We're going to have some tornado warnings. Wind is going to be a major issue, and I'm going to break down each of these over the next couple of minutes of what we're going to be saying as far as wind and as far as flooding. And we got both a very high for wind and flooding, no threat for hail. With tropical systems, you just don't see hail that often, but wind and flooding are concerned along with that tornado threat. Again, we're to the right of that center of circulation. That is why we're going to be dealing with this system. So essentially what we're going to be seeing, sustained winds here in Middle Georgia, 50 to 70. That's sustained. Gust will likely be over 80 miles per hour. This is going to produce widespread tree and power issues across Middle Georgia. Winds this high, structural damage as well. Mobile homes, you've got to make sure your mobile home is anchored down. Tomorrow night, you may want to go stay with someone else. Mobile homes offer very little protection. Great affordable housing, but manufactured homes don't offer much protection when it comes to extreme weather. As far as potential rainfall, most of Middle Georgia, 4 to 10 inches of rain likely. Now, we're going to have heavier rain amounts off towards the north. In the Georgia and North Carolina mountains, rainfall totals 15 to 18 inches are certainly possible. But I think 4 to 10 inches, that's initially going to cause flash flooding. Then all that rain that falls across the area, even to the north, it has to flow through 3 rivers, the Flint River, the Ocmulgee River, and the Oconee River, and all those flow through Middle Georgia. So initially, we're going to have a flooding and flash flooding threat. Then in the coming days, we'll be dealing with a river flooding threat. So do keep that in mind if you live near the Flint, Oconee, and Ocmulgee rivers. And of course, we'll have those quick, short-lived spin-up tornadoes. And I misspelled tornadoes. I will fix that. Well, I don't know what a tornado is, but I'll fix that real quick. But tropical tornadoes are the worst. I will be completely honest with you. You get very little warning from them. Many times they're not even thunderstorms. They're rotating showers. They last 2 or 3 minutes and then they're gone, but they can produce widespread damage in those 2 or 3 minutes. By the time you get the warning, you get on air letting people know the warning's already over. So do keep that in mind. We got to have these quick, short-lived spin-up tornadoes. They last 2 or 3 minutes and then they're gone. That's why we always want you to have multiple ways to receive those severe weather alerts, a NOAA weather radio, of course that WGXA Skywatch weather app. I'll be showing you how to download that. But again, that's what we're going to be dealing with. Now, what will these cause? Well, for many of us in Middle Georgia, like I said, it's going to be a high impact event. Expect extensive wind damage likely across most of Middle Georgia. Now, not everyone's going to see damage, but there's going to be some areas that could be with widespread power outages. For all of Middle Georgia, some areas may be a couple of weeks before you get that electricity back on, because this is going to be such a high impact event affecting Florida, Alabama, the entire state of Georgia. So our resources will be strained. So please be patient with the utility crews once the storm clears and they're out trying to get your power back on. And as I said, significant flooding threat with those 4 to 10 inches, and we could see some isolated higher amounts. And then in the long term, prolonged river flooding, that will be a major concern. But initially it's going to be the wind damage, and that's what we're really going to be talking about, and those widespread power outages. That's what's going to be a serious issue. And again, think back to Irma. So a lot of Middle Georgia was without power for 2 or 3 days, even portions of Macon, and then you had some locations, maybe up to a week or two, could be dealing with no power. So make sure you're getting prepared for this system. You still got tomorrow to really get prepared, but tomorrow we're going to be dealing with rain throughout much of the day, and conditions are only going to get worse as we head throughout the day. Now, as I said, you always have to deal with those quick, short-lived spin-up tornadoes east of that center of circulation. Now, you got a level 3 threat for these tornadoes down towards the Georgia coast, the Carolina coast, a level 2 threat for much of South Carolina and down into southeast Georgia, a level 1 threat essentially as far west as Macon, as well as Montezuma and Americus. We'll be watching, but with that center of circulation coming very near us, a lot of times the tornadoes are just off towards the east. We're likely going to be seeing the actual eye wall center of circulation very near Macon tomorrow night, and that's where those most intense winds will be. So there's the threat for tornadoes, but let's talk about winds. And again, this is just one model's output. Tomorrow, this is actually tonight. Winds, again, nothing to do with Helene. Now, throughout the day tomorrow, our winds are going to be increasing, and because it's approaching from the south, we're going to have easterly winds. So your winds are going to be coming from the east, going towards the west. Now, by 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, you're starting to get wind gusts 20 to 30 miles per hour. As we head towards maybe midnight, 40 to 50 to maybe 60 miles per hour. This is severe winds. This will be causing tree issues. This will be causing power issues. And again, we're still north of the storm, so everything is blowing from east to west across Middle Georgia. Then we get into the overnight, 1 a.m., 70 mile per hour winds maybe for Cordele and Vienna, 43 up in Gray, and these winds will only increase. Now, maybe 88 mile per hour winds at Thomaston. Again, you're going to be finding these gusts, 71 miles per hour in Butler. That's why we have that hurricane warning in effect. That's why we got that tropical storm warning, because you're going to have tropical storm and hurricane force winds throughout Middle Georgia. Now, this is Friday at 4 a.m. Schools, you're not going to have sessions Friday. I just don't see any way we're going to have Friday night football across Middle Georgia. I hate to break it to you, but I think we're just going to be dealing with widespread power outages now. Notice by 5 a.m., you see this is the center of circulation. North of Macon, winds are starting to shift out of the south, depending where you are. So you could get an easterly to westerly wind, a westerly to easterly wind, or a south to north or south north to south. And again, you're going to be dealing with winds 66 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour. And again, this is going to be on the hours. There will be gusts within this that will likely be 70 to 80, maybe as high as 90 miles per hour. That's going to produce tremendous amounts of damage across Middle Georgia. So keep that in mind. This is going to be tree and power and extensive power issues as we roll through tomorrow night and through the day on Friday. Now, Friday at 8 a.m., still dealing with gusty winds. The center of circulation is going to be up near Atlanta. We're going to have strong southerly winds, and then throughout the day, the winds will gradually come down. And I think by Friday afternoon, it'll still be breezy, but I think we'll get some sunshine Friday afternoon. This is just how quick that system is moving. Now let's talk about the next thing, rainfall. All of Middle Georgia under a flood watch. Now this is through at least Friday evening. Flood watch, flash flooding, river flooded warnings. That's going to be what's going to be coming up next. But flooding is going to be a serious concern. And when you get to landfalling systems, the inland flooding and freshwater flooding tends to be the #1 killer. Do keep that in mind. If you encounter floodwaters, we always say turn around, don't drown. So that's the flood watch. Now, here's potential rainfall. This has been pretty consistent, and your eyes don't deceive you. A lot of Middle Georgia easily could see 5 to 7 inches of rain between tomorrow and Friday. That's going to cause flooding. Some portions of South Georgia, 4 to 6 inches. Now, this is on average. This is just model interpretation of what could occur. There could be higher amounts. 8, 10 inches certainly possible. Some locations won't get that much. Maybe over in our eastern counties, you get towards Trutland County, maybe you're only getting 1 to 2 inches. But widespread 5 to 7 inches in Middle Georgia, that's going to continue up into North Georgia. That's got to flow into the Flint River that goes across our western counties, the Ocmulgee River through central Georgia, and then of course the Oconee River coming out of Lake Sinclair. That's why we're going to be looking at river flood warnings. So 1-2 punch right there, that tornado threat and the wind threat. So here's tomorrow's forecast. Temperatures will stay in the 70s. We're going to see increasing wind and rain throughout the day. We can live with that. So, but the 10-day forecast, we have those weather-worn days for Thursday, Thursday night, and Friday. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s and 80s. Make it through Friday. The weekend's going to be beautiful. Early next week looks great as well. But this is going to be a prolonged event for us in Middle Georgia with the next 24 to 36 hours. But by Friday evening, I think things will start to improve. Of course, we always want to see if it's safe, get out there. You can show us your weather pictures. If you have damaged pictures, crowdsourcing, that is one of the best things to do. You can send them in to WGXA.tv on Chime In. You can scan that QR code right now, and that'll let you download and give us permission to use those on air and online. And of course, the Skywatch weather app. If you don't have it, it's great. I have it on my work phone, my personal phone. Scan it. It's free and simple. You can select the watches and warnings you want to see. Gives you that interactive radar, lets you know where you are in relation to the storm. It actually showing the actual track of Hurricane Helene through Middle Georgia as part of the app. So I would go ahead and encourage you to download that. And again, it has those push notifications, so when we are getting these watches and warnings, those are automatically coming to you. And as I said, you can select which watches and warnings you want to have. And with those quick spin up tornadoes in the forecast for tomorrow and tomorrow night, I highly encourage that to have one of your sources of ways to receive those severe weather alerts. So that is what we're going to be dealing with, an extensive major hurricane that's going to be impacting portions of Middle Georgia. Now, I'm going to go back to social media, and I'm just going to try to answer as many questions as possible. So just Mike Locke, just hope the power doesn't go out. Yes, I hope it doesn't either, but this is going to be an extensive severe weather threat as far as the winds, and I expect widespread power outages, unfortunately, for most of Middle Georgia. I know a lot of schools have closed or maybe closing early tomorrow, and most of them have gone ahead and canceled classes. We have that on our website too. I know Peach County, Bibb County, Wilkinson County, all those are involved in that. So you can go to WGXA.tv and check out the full list. So again, just going to be scrolling through the messages. I see a lot of people chiming in. And again, I'm looking at Twitter as well just to see what people are saying. And again, this is just what we're dealing with. It's going to be a very fast-hitting system. Unfortunately, it's going to rapidly intensify as we head through the overnight hours and into the day tomorrow. Again, it's a Category 1 right now by landfall very near Apalachicola. Their forecast is up to Category 4 storm with winds of 130 miles per hour. Record storm surge likely in the Big Bend. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with that storm surge here in middle Georgia, but we got to deal with the wind and we got to deal with that tornado threat. So again, looking at multiple platforms, just checking out the comments, really appreciating the comments and questions. And of course, I'll come back to them if I don't get to you. Keandre, so when should it start to get bad in Macon? I think by about 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night, so Thursday night, and then through the overnight hours. So from about 9 p.m. through, I would say, about 6 a.m. Friday morning. It's going to be an overnight event for many of us. And is that good or bad? I don't know. A lot of people will be in bed, but again, that's bad because a lot of people will be in bed not paying attention to the weather. Winds are going to be howling. It's going to be pouring down rain. Hopefully people can get some sleep. But again, that threat for that active severe weather, those quick spin-up tornadoes, the threat for the widespread power outages, that's going to be a big issue. Ashley Barrow, is there any chance the storm will weaken or change direction? Unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. I wish it would cut really far east, go across Florida, and we wouldn't have to deal with it, or go west over towards Texas. All the models are suggesting this. It's now emerging into the Gulf of Mexico. Waters in the Gulf of Mexico are still in the upper 80s. Down close to the Keys, it's in the low 90s. Lots of energy for this system to feed off of, so unfortunately it's only going to intensify. Hopefully something will make it not intensify, but that's what we're going to be dealing with. The environment around it, it's not a lot of wind shear, so it's not going to be ripping it apart. There's not a lot of dry air around the system that it could ingest to slow its weakening down. This is going to be a big event, unfortunately, and again, for the coast and then for us in middle Georgia, that's what we're going to be dealing with. Yeah, nighttime events are the worst because a lot of people aren't paying attention. And again, you know your location better than anybody. You know where trees are in your yard. If there's some that maybe look a little aged or you don't trust them that are hanging over a bedroom, I wouldn't sleep in that room tomorrow night. And again, our winds predominantly are going to be coming from east to west, so do keep that in mind. That's the direction the trees will fall. They'll be falling from east to west because that's the way the winds will be falling. So just looking at more comments. And again, great questions. And again, I'll try my best to answer as many as I can with this Facebook Live. So and again, ask away. So of course we'll be it's 8:36. I was just doing a quick update tonight. We'll likely be wall to wall at some point tomorrow night. I think once the storm really gets here, we'll be on air and online. We'll have it's all hands on deck as far as the news department. So we'll have our anchors and reporters here. It's going to be a long night for all of us, just like it's going to be a long night for middle Georgia. And again, the most important thing is, and I hope people are taking this storm seriously, is it's going to be a high impact event. I really expect widespread power outages, and they could be lasting power outages, not for a few hours, maybe a couple of days. Some locations you could not have power for a couple of weeks. That's just how extensive the storm is going to be, and it's going to be impacting all of Georgia. Down from the Florida state line, it'll work its way up through middle Georgia. It's going to impact the Atlanta area. They're going to have power issues. So the resources are going to be stretched thin, but I was coming back today along Interstate 75 from the south. I saw a lot of utility trucks already heading south, so I know they were more than likely heading down to help the Floridians where the storm will be coming in. But you know how these co-ops are and these conglomerations as far as these power companies, they send help all over the country, so do be mindful of that. They're going to work their best to get the power back on as soon as possible. But you know, they can't get up in these bucket trucks and start working until the storm passes. So you're going to be without power probably tomorrow night and into Friday, and then be patient. These guys are working long hours. The linemen, they got a lot to do. So conditions travel to Atlanta Thursday. Tomorrow it's going to be a wet day. If you're catching a flight out of Atlanta or you're just going to Atlanta, shouldn't have too many issues. It's going to be raining. Tomorrow looks to be a rather wet day, but as far as any issues, flights out of Hartselle will be fine tomorrow. Now, Friday morning there's going to be issues. Expect delays. I know Tampa said at 2 a.m. tonight they're shutting down their airport to commercial traffic, so that's going to start the ripple effect. So I think the major airports that are going to be impacted by this, Tampa's of course on the west coast of Florida, Tallahassee's going to have issues, Jacksonville's probably going to have issues, Hartselle, Atlanta, Jackson International Airport, that's going to have some major issues Friday morning during the pre-dawn hours. So if you got to catch a flight out of Atlanta Friday morning, it's probably going to be delayed until the system gets out of here. But again, the storm system is going to be racing so fast that it's going to be in and out of here, and looks like it will be in Tennessee by even midday Friday. So again, there's going to be some travel issues. And again, that's another thing, is people are going to try to get out and about Friday morning after the storm passes. There's going to be trees down. A lot of roads will be impassable. And just keep that in mind. Power lines are going to be down. There's going to be flooding. That's always a serious concern. And like I said, we're going to have the flash flooding threat, and then you're going to have the river flooding threat, and that's going to be a concern. So those are just some of the things we're watching. There's so much with this storm, and this storm is, each storm's different. Don't compare it to past storms like Irma or Michael or any storm you may have been through. Each of these storms is completely different. So that is what we are looking at when it comes to these storms. This storm's wind field is going to be so large. It's going to be working its way through the Florida Peninsula tomorrow. Even on the east coast of Florida tomorrow, they're going to have tropical storm force winds, even though the storm itself will be 100 miles off the west coast of Florida. So this is going to be an expansive wind field. And that's why we have so many large areas under the watches and warnings. And I'll go back to that. I'll expand out on this a little bit, but tropical storm warnings for the entire state of Georgia except where we have the hurricane warnings. And notice I'll expand out. You have these tropical storm warnings for South Carolina, North Carolina. So they're going to be dealing with these issues as well. All of Florida except the 3 panhandle counties are under hurricane or tropical storm warnings. This wind field with this hurricane is going to be so expansive. That's what we're dealing with. So again, you got tropical storm warnings in Alabama, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Florida. That's what we're dealing with. And in that shade of red, that's that hurricane warning we were talking about that does encompass much of middle Georgia. So again, for us, I really expect this to be a high wind event and a rain event, a flooding rain event. But the winds are going to be an issue. And I'm going to show a couple of these graphics a few more times, just giving you a general idea. Now, each model is a little different. One of our models has the center of circulation closer to Dublin. I'm not buying that. I really believe the hurricane center's track west of Macon. That's going to be more believable. But again, this is just going to be the winds. Throughout the day tomorrow, winds will be increasing. Noon, 20, that's not bad. Tomorrow evening, by the time you're getting home, this is when I'm really telling people, 6 p.m., that's when people need to be at home, starting to make preparations for a windy and wet night. And again, this is midnight tomorrow night. We'll be on air by this time, because when you get in 40 to 50 to 60 miles per hour winds, that's going to be producing damage. So you're going to start to see the damage reports come in from south to north, and that's just how the system's going to be. And again, easterly winds, because we're going to be on the north side of that center of circulation. By 1 a.m., even stronger winds likely. You get some 70 mile per hour wind gusts being reported, 48 to 50 in middle Georgia. Trees are going to come down. Power lines are going to come down. Look at this. You get some wind gusts 71, 88 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour essentially. And again, you see the winds are actually going to start increasing as that center of circulation. Now, this is 4 a.m. This is not exactly what's going to happen, but this just shows you how fast this system's going to be moving. 4 a.m. is south of us. 5 a.m. it's on the north side of Macon. So it's going to be moving maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour. If that's right, you got to factor that forward momentum into these winds. But again, 5 o'clock, 66 mile per hour winds likely in Thomaston, 40 to 50 miles per hour winds. These are tropical storm force. That's why we have that tropical storm warning in effect for our northern counties. Hurricane force, that's up to 74 miles per hour. That's when that starts. And again, that's why we're going to be dealing with some gust maybe as high as 80 to 90 miles per hour in certain locations. So that is what we continue to watch. So going back through, continue looking at some of these comments. And again, let me know. I'll try to answer as many questions and comments as I can. Just a general idea what's going on. And again, we've been through these before. We'll get through this one again. So that is what we are going to be looking at as far as the overall threats. Just keep that in mind. It's a wind threat, and it's a rain threat, and it's a threat for tornadoes. And again, I'm checking other social media, so we're continuing to stream this. So again, big event for Middle Georgia. Expect power outages. Gas up the car tonight or tomorrow. Go to the grocery store. I know a lot of people are buying bread and milk and everything. That's what people do. So just be prepared. Be prepared to be without power for a few days at least, as we're going to be dealing with this system making its way through Middle Georgia. So, all right, comments. Okay, let me go back to the top. Janet Smith, yes, we are streaming on YouTube. Sorry I missed your comment. Samuel Ross, did I hear tornadoes? Yes, we are going to be dealing with tornadoes. Eaton, Georgia, again, that's up in Putnam County. Friday morning, you're going to have tropical storm force winds that will cause tree and power issues. Here's what to do. All right. Yes, Macon has had hurricanes before. I am not a Macon weather expert. I know Irma produced hurricane force winds in Macon. That was a few years ago. Hurricane Michael, remember it was one of only 4 Category 5 hurricanes that made landfall just south and east of Panama City. It came across portions of Middle Georgia as still a hurricane producing tremendous amounts of damage. That was back in 2018, 2019. So that was the most recent one. We had Idalia last year, but it stuck closer to the coast. Earlier this year, we had Debbie. Some of our southeastern counties got 8 to 10 inches of rain. Not much for us in Middle Georgia. We never expected much from Debbie. But again, this is just what we are dealing with. And the system's going to be moving so fast. That's the issue. Once it makes landfall, it's going to be moving so fast as it moves inland that it's going to be a hurricane when it gets to Middle Georgia. And a hurricane has winds of 74 miles per hour or greater. Those are the sustained winds. You're going to have wind gusts that are probably going to be in the range of 80 to 90 miles per hour. And again, that's why we're thinking this is going to be such a high impact event. Going back through the comments again. And again, I know a lot of people, yeah, Lauren Black, you're right. Cordell got hit by Hurricane Michael. Big issue. You're going to get hit by Hurricane Helene. So go ahead and get ready for this as well. So will Columbus be hit with this hurricane? Yeah, Columbus is going to be close. Columbus is going to have issues from this hurricane. You're going to be west of the center of circulation, but you are included in the tropical storm warning. And I'll actually pull that up. Again, just showing you the watches and warnings, or should I say they're all warnings. You got Columbus is actually included in the hurricane warning. So you get Muskogee as well as Chattahoochee County. So that is where you're going to be dealing with that. So tropical storms across the state line over into Alabama, that's where you're going to be dealing with that. So yeah, you're going to be dealing with issues from this storm over in Columbus. What about Alabama? Daryl Weaver, if you tell me what part of Alabama, I can help you. Kathy here, do you think we're still okay to go to Gulf Shores through Saturday? Absolutely. The Alabama Gulf Coast, the Florida Gulf Coast, west of Panama City. You get over there towards Destin, Pensacola. There's going to be rip currents, but the weather's going to be great down there. This storm is not going to be impacting Pensacola Beach, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. So if you do have a trip down that way, you're going to be okay. It's going to be from Panama City Beach off towards the east. That includes Mexico Beach, Apalachicola, Cedar Key, Tallahassee, down towards the western portions of the peninsula. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, Gulf Shores will be fine. They're not going to have any issues. Is Milledgeville affected? Yes, all of Middle Georgia is going to be impacted by this. Milledgeville up in Baldwin County, you're under a tropical storm warning. And as I said, a tropical storm warning means tropical storm wind conditions are expected within 36 hours. Hurricane warning, hurricane wind conditions are expected within 36 hours within this area. Hurricane conditions, winds of 74 miles per hour or greater. Tropical storm winds are winds of 39 miles per hour to 74 miles per hour, should I say 73 miles per hour. So somewhere within this area, you're going to have tropical storm force winds, and I was just showing you that on the wind field that you're going to be dealing with that. Pensacola forecast, you are A-OK. You're not going to have any issues. That's well west of the center of circulation. You're going to have an offshore flow. You're probably going to have some high rip currents, but this is going to be west, or should I say east of Panama City Beach, where the worst of this storm is going to come through. So that is your Pensacola. Northeast Alabama, you're going to have effects. You're going to, I believe you're under a, you're going to be dealing with winds maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour. You're going to be dealing with heavy rainfall, Daryl. So just depending on what part. As I said, this tropical storm warning, it extends all the way to the Alabama state or the Tennessee state line with Georgia. So I'll just show you. If you're in Cherokee County over in Alabama, you could have some issues, but the storm, once it gets up to the Georgia and Tennessee state line, it's going to kind of hook back towards the west. There's an upper level low off towards the west, and these two are going to interact. It's called the Fujiwara effect, and these two lows are going to rotate around each other before becoming one, and that's going to happen out over Arkansas. So again, that's going to be an issue for them, but again, the state line of Alabama, off towards the east, that's where we're going to be dealing with some of these more intense winds. Thank you. You're welcome, Kathy. I do what I can. Sherlyn, how bad for Byron or Peach County? Well, you're in the hurricane warning. Forecasting winds of 50 to 60 to maybe 80 miles per hour. Peach County, of course. Here's Byron, there's Fort Valley, Peach County. You're in the hurricane warning. That means hurricane conditions are likely within 36 hours. Power outages, flash flooding, winds, as I said, maybe over 80 miles per hour. And again, the storm's going to be moving so fast that's why we have a hurricane warning this far inland. Usually they don't come much farther north than Albany, but the forward speed of this system, it's going to be moving so fast that it's going to be a hurricane until it gets into middle Georgia. So that's why we have that hurricane warning as far north as Macon. So we'll be keeping an eye on everything. And I'll show you, again, the official track from the National Hurricane Center. It's going to be showing you the official track. And again, this storm's going to be picking up speed. This is the center of circulation. You see it, winds of 85 miles per hour. Like I said, that pressure is dropping. As the pressure drops, the winds will increase. But the wind field with this is so expansive, it's going to take a while for those winds to start wrapping in. But this is moving off towards the north at 12 miles per hour. We are expecting it to begin to turn towards the northeast a little bit. So here's the official track from the Hurricane Center. By 2 a.m., they're thinking it's going to be a Category 2 storm. By tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, 130 mile per hour winds. Now, this is the official track from the Hurricane Center, the official forecast. That makes it a Category 4 storm. And then as it makes landfall, it's going to be Category 4, very near Apalachicola. Right here's where Tallahassee would be. Tallahassee is going to be on the west or the east side of that center of circulation. Then as the storm continues to race northward into middle Georgia, Friday at 2 a.m., that's a Category 1 hurricane moving through middle Georgia, producing wind, producing tremendous amounts of rainfall, producing tornadoes. And again, that tornado threat is going to be east of the center of circulation. It's going to extend over into the Carolinas. Anywhere you get those feeder bands, that's where you're going to have those tornadoes. But this is still a Category 1 hurricane, winds likely of around 80 miles per hour sustained as it's moving through, say, Sumter County, Sly County. You get up into Taylor County, Upson County, and then as it moves off towards the north, it is expected to weaken as it moves up towards the Atlanta metro. It could still be a hurricane by the time it reaches the Atlanta metro, just depending how strong it gets. So that is what we are dealing with this system. So how about the Panhandle and Crestview, Florida? You're going to be okay from this system. Crestview, Defuniak Springs, anything west of Panama City, you're going to be okay from this system. This is going to stay to the east. Now, you're going to have breezy conditions tomorrow. You're going to be having probably some strong offshore winds because your winds are going to be coming from the north. But you're not going to be feeling the effects of this as like the rest of Florida is. West of Panama City, you're okay. East of Panama City, that's the danger zone over towards essentially Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and that part. So you should be okay, Gene. Jacksonville, Florida, you're going to be feeling tropical storm conditions. I know you're already under a tropical storm warning. The St. Johns River, of course, it will likely have higher tides. The storm surge will move into the St. Johns River. You'll probably have winds 50 to 60 miles per hour in Jacksonville. So that is what we are looking at. So I'm really trying to focus on middle Georgia because that's the area I cover, but any questions within the path I will try my best to answer. So again, that is what we are looking at. I will show you potential rainfall once again. This is going to be an issue. 5 to 7 inches, 4 to 6 inches, easily. We could easily see these amounts of rainfall between now and now and Friday. This is going to cause widespread flooding. Flash flooding is going to be a concern tomorrow night. Roads are going to be flooded. And again, you have 3 rivers in middle Georgia. You got the Flint River, you got the Ocmulgee River, and you got the Oconee River. And all this water has to flow south through those. Expect those to be rising fast by the time we get to Friday morning. And that's what we're going to be dealing with river flood warnings. And again, you're going to get a lot of rainfall in North Georgia as well. Up in the mountains, rainfall 12 to 18 inches certainly possible. Now I know a lot of those rivers, that's usually the Coosa, the Tallapoosa, and the Chattahoochee that will flow west towards Alabama. Chattahoochee, of course, along the state line. So hopefully we don't get that much rain, but we're going to be dealing with very heavy rainfall in many areas throughout middle Georgia, and that is what we're going to be doing. So that's a major issue. The tornado threat, as I said, it is there, but it's always east of that center of circulation. Savannah to Alma, down towards Brunswick, Brunswick, Tybee Island, St. Simon Island, you're under a level 3 threat for those quick spin-up tornadoes. From Myrtle Beach to Columbia to almost Augusta to, I would say, Soperton down to Valdosta, you got that level 2 threat. And then the rest of the shading you see for Middle Georgia, a level 1 threat. And again, this depends on where that center of circulation is. If it moves a little farther off towards the east, the threat will not be for Macon as far as the tornado threat. If it moves a little farther west, you could see maybe this level 2 extended closer to Macon. So that's just something we're going to be watching. And as I said, quick spin-up tornadoes, tropical tornadoes are the hardest tornadoes to track. They last a few minutes, they are quickly do their damage, and then they lift. A lot of times they're not even associated with thunderstorms. They are just spinning showers. And so you don't get much of a warning on that. Now, I know it is raining right now in Middle Georgia. Some people are asking me about that. Everything in Middle Georgia right now, yes, we're dealing with rain and storms. This has nothing to do with Hurricane Helene. This is a frontal boundary that's making its way into Middle Georgia, but this could impact our forecast as far as you're already getting saturated grounds, you're getting some heavy rainfalls, and yes, we need the rain. We're in drought in portions of Middle Georgia, but this, on top of what's going to be coming in the coming days, this could make that flooding issue even a bigger issue. But as of right now, we're dealing with heavy rainfall across most of Middle Georgia. And again, it's a welcome sight. We need the rainfall. We got drought and abnormally dry conditions. And again, nothing to do with Hurricane Helene. This is just a frontal boundary moving through portions of Middle Georgia. So that is what we are dealing with. We'll keep an eye on this, but heavy rainfall tonight, and the rain's really just going to increase in coverage tomorrow. So just going to be a wet go of it. Let's see, where was David Futrell, sorry, it's Prince really small. Is Middle Georgia still under hurricane warning? Yes, and it will be until Friday morning at least. I'll show you that. And again, Perry, Georgia, Athens, Georgia. Now, Athens, just outside our viewing area, it's up in Clark County, but you're under a tropical storm warning. That does include the University of Georgia. I know the Georgia Bulldogs are going to Tuscaloosa this weekend. They'll probably get out of town a day early, go on over to Birmingham because the weather's going to be over there and hopefully outrun this storm. So that's something. How long will it take max winds to pass Warner Robins? Tornado for Athens, Georgia, I can't answer that. There's going to be tornadoes. You're east of the center of circulation. Does one hit Athens, Georgia? I cannot tell you for sure. You just got to pay attention to the weather. Let me go back and show you. I'll go back and show, again, the warnings. Everything's a warning right now. Tropical storm warning, hurricane warning. And again, this is going to be, I know the warnings say through Saturday at a certain time. These will get canceled once the storm passes, but every county you see shaded in this lighter shade of red, that is a hurricane. Macon-Bibb County, Crawford County, you get over towards Taylor County, Twiggs County, Houston County, Peach County, Macon County itself, Sly. You get down to Sumter, Cordele and Crisp County, Wilcox, Telfair, Dodge, Pulaski, Bleckley, and I'm forgetting Dooley County. You're all included in the hurricane warning. Again, a hurricane warning means hurricane conditions are expected within 36 hours. The rest of Middle Georgia, tropical storm warnings. That means tropical storm conditions are expected within 36 hours. That does include Monroe, Forsyth, Lawrence, Dublin. You get over towards Washington County, Hancock County, you get up in the Lake Country. Tropical storm conditions are expected. The worst of the weather, and I've been showing, I think the worst of the weather starts in our southern counties about 6 p.m. tomorrow. Our southern counties, Sumter County, Crisp County, Wilcox County, Telfair County. Wind and hail, or should I say wind and flooding are a concern. Hail's not a concern with this event. So 6 p.m. Thursday through the midnight hour, through Friday at 9 a.m. The storm, I think by 9 a.m. Friday is going to be up in the Atlanta metro. Still going to be a breezy day on Friday, but the system's going to be moving very fast. So at least it will be in and out of here. It will not be lasting for days. I'll show you the winds across middle Georgia once again. Tonight, no issues. Tomorrow, winds are going to be about 20 miles per hour, but you get into tomorrow afternoon and evening, you notice winds picking up out of the east. And I've had several people continue to ask me, which way will the wind be blowing? It's going to be blowing from the east to the west with this event because the storm is coming from the south and the counterclockwise flow around it, so everything's going to be going from east to west. You get towards midnight tomorrow night. These are your winds, 50, 60, 30, 40 mile per hour winds. Everywhere is going to be dealing with tropical storm force winds. You're going to start getting some hurricane gusts by midnight. These winds, they're going to start producing damage. They're going to start knocking out power. Trees are going to be coming down across middle Georgia. You get to 1 a.m., 70 mile per hour winds. You get into the later night, pre-dawn hours. I know you're seeing a lot of 50s, but you do have some 70s and 80s showing up. Those are going to be your wind gusts. Wind gusts where you're seeing 50s and 60s wind gusts, add about 20 miles per hour to that. So that'll be into the 70s. Those are hurricane force winds. That is what we are dealing with. 60 to 70. This is 5 a.m. You're still getting 60 mile per hour winds, maybe over in Upson County and Thomaston. You're getting this center circulation. As I said, I think it's going to come right up Interstate 75, right over downtown Macon. That means it's going to go through Perry. That means it's going to go through Byron. It means it's going to go right over Warner Robins, and then we'll continue up towards Forsyth and Jasper County. So that is what we are looking at. And I'll show you by 9 a.m. or should I say 11 a.m. Friday, you're still going to have gusty winds, but the winds will gradually come down throughout the day. The storm will be well to the north of us. So tomorrow night, I'm saying 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. Friday, that's going to be that core threat. And I really think for middle Georgia, midnight to 4 or 5 a.m., that's when we're going to be dealing with this. We're going to be live on TV. We're going to be streaming. We're going to keep you informed and up to date because this is going to be a high impact event. We are going to have damage from this system across middle Georgia. We are going to have widespread power outages from this system. And these power outages could likely last for days, maybe a couple of weeks in some locations, just depending how much of the grid is impacted. Again, this is a high impact event for middle Georgia. We are going to have a hurricane in middle Georgia tomorrow night into early Friday morning. Please be taking this storm seriously and making precautions. Make sure you have a way to receive the severe weather alerts, watches, and warnings. And I know you're getting bombarded with all these texts and alerts, but again, you got to be ready for a storm like this. So again, feel free to ask away. We get a new update, comes out at 11. So if you watch the 11 o'clock news tonight, I'll have the latest from the National Hurricane Center on the path. But as of right now, it's a Category 1 storm, expected to become a Category 4 storm by the time it makes landfall very near Apalachicola tomorrow evening. And then it will still be a hurricane when it reaches at least middle Georgia. Wind, 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 rain, 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 some tornadoes. That is what you're going to be dealing with. So again, this is going to be a big event. This is going to be probably the weather story of the year for middle Georgia. We didn't have a banner severe weather season back in the spring, certainly some good news. We dealt with Debbie earlier this year, mainly in our southeastern counties, so that wasn't a big event for many of us. Now, last year we had a Dahlia, and that did quite a bit of damage in some locations. I think the most memorable storm for middle Georgia would have been Michael back in 2018. Again, you don't compare storms to other storms, but just letting you know, this is going to be a big event. This is going to cause a lot of power issues for middle Georgia, and people just need to be prepared to be dealing with these power issues, prolonged power outages, because This is going to produce a lot of tree and power issues. I hope this forecast is wrong. I really do. I hope this forecast is wrong. The storm is weaker when it comes through. It shifts off towards the east a little bit. It shifts off towards the west, but it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. So we're going to be dealing with this, and that's just what we're going to continue to deal with this system. So I've been doing this Facebook Live for about an hour now. I think I've covered quite a few things. I'm actually going to jump off of here, look at some more data coming in. Hurricane hunters are flying the hurricane right now. We'll get that latest data coming up at 11 o'clock. That is the next update. But just a real quick reminder. And William Hill, yes, it will still be a hurricane in middle Georgia. When I say middle Georgia, to at least Macon. So from Macon off towards the south, you're under a hurricane warning. You're going to have hurricane conditions. North of Macon, tropical storm conditions. Power outages. Power outages are going to really mount up, especially tomorrow night. I'm just preparing people. This is going to be a big event. And then I just want to show you, tonight, again, we got rain and storms across middle Georgia as we speak. Nothing severe, but I've been hearing the rain come down here at our station in downtown Macon. A lot of heavy lightning in these storms, a lot of heavy rainfall. These will continue the next couple of hours. Nothing severe, but again, this is just going to add insult to injury. These will saturate the grounds overnight, and then you get the rain starting tomorrow, and it's just going to be a prolonged event. Tomorrow's just going to be a wet and windy day, and as you get into the evening hours, the wet and windiness will continue. So again, hopefully I've covered everything well enough, good enough. Hopefully you're all prepared. Make sure you have ways to receive those severe weather alerts. I'll go back through and look at the comments one more time. Yeah, just pay attention. Pay attention to the weather tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I know it's an overnight event. We're going to be live on air. We'll be live on air covering this until the threat is over. But again, I want to reiterate, it will be a hurricane in middle Georgia. Winds 80 to 90 miles per hour. Widespread and extensive wind damage, not just to trees, but you need to be making sure you're securing your garbage cans, your grills, trampolines. Those will go flying. Just anything that could be picked up by the wind. Make sure you're securing all that as much as possible. Yard decorations. I know we're not to the Christmas season yet, but I have seen some Halloween decorations out. So you may want to take those back down. I know a lot of people put football decorations out, and a lot of Georgia Bulldogs and Yellow Jackets in yards. Take those down. You got to be able to be prepared to take action, because a lot of that stuff is going to be picked up by these winds. And again, these winds will be 60 to 70 miles per hour, could gust over 90 in some locations. And yes, that's here in middle Georgia. So we'll keep an eye on it, but that is what we're going to do. So again, if you feel free, come back and comment. I will be checking the comments off air. But yeah, we'll be doing this tomorrow. Again, tomorrow's just going to be a wet and windy day for many locations in middle Georgia. That is what we have to deal with. Again, I will leave this last slide up for you. Again, if you don't have the WGXA Skywatch weather app, go ahead and download it now. Again, interactive radar. It actually has the track of the hurricane on it right now, where it's going, that center of circulation, watches and warnings, the ones you want pushed to you. And again, if the power goes out, you're going to need a way to receive severe weather alerts. I'll leave this up, giving you a Wednesday night update on what's going to be a big event for us tomorrow night and into Friday, as Hurricane Helene will make landfall along the Florida coast and then head north through middle Georgia, producing wind, producing rain, producing tornadoes, and it will produce widespread power outages. So go ahead and make try to catch my breath a little bit, and then at 11 o'clock we will be live on WGXA once again on ABC 16. I'll have the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. But again, tomorrow you still got time to make preparations, but by tomorrow night, 6 p.m., everybody needs to be getting ready to hunker down for a long, windy, and stormy night. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett. It's my pleasure keeping you informed and up to date on what's going to be a big system for Middle Georgia.